The night stretched long and heavy, but I did not sleep. I sat with the notebooks in my lap, the photographs spread before me, and my wrinkled hands resting between the two worlds: what was celebrated, and what was forgotten. At dawn, I rose and folded the notebooks back into the trunk, locking them carefully. They were my treasures, my proof, my truth. Then I gathered the photographs into a neat pile and placed them back on the table. I looked at them one last time. Beautiful, yes. Proud, yes. But incomplete, I whispered. These pictures may not carry my face, but every smile in them was built on my sacrifice. Without me, these frames are unfinished stories. I stood in front of the mirror, touching the lines on my face. Each wrinkle carried a night of hunger, a year of work, a lifetime of love. This was the face she thought would ruin her pictures, but to me, it was the face of survival. I said softly, they believe I would ruin their memories. But the truth is, without me, their memories are hollow. A tree without roots. A smile without meaning. If you believe no mother should ever be erased from her child's proudest moments, press like and comment, respect. Share this story to honor every unseen sacrifice. As the morning light filled the room, I folded my cream sari one last time and placed it neatly in the trunk, beside the notebooks. It was no longer a garment of Shemet, was a symbol of the dignity I would not surrender. I sat down on my chair, the wrapped fountain pen still resting on the table. I traced its edges and whispered, one day, when my grandchild holds a pen, I will give this to them, and I will tell them, this pen was bought with love, with hunger, with sacrifice, and no picture can erase that truth. I leaned back, closing my eyes, and allowed myself one final thought. They can erase me from their ceremonies, they can erase me from their photographs, but they cannot erase me from their lives, for I am their beginning, whether they honor me or not. And as the wind slipped gently through the window, I knew this truth. I was not the one who ruined the picture. The picture was ruined the moment it forgot me. When the house grew quiet again, I stayed at the table long after my daughter had gone to sleep. The photos still lay before me, glossy, perfect, flawless. Too flawless, because they carried no trace of me. I reached for the small wooden trunk I kept under my bed. With trembling hands, I pulled it out and opened it. Inside were relics of her childhood, dog-eared notebooks, old pencils, her first school bag with a broken strap. I lifted the bag and pressed it to my chest. I could still remember the mornings I tied it on her shoulders, whispering, study hard, Beta, one day, this will change your life. I opened one of the notebooks. My daughter's handwriting danced across the pages, crooked and small at first, then stronger, bolder with time. I ran my fingers over the faded ink and whispered. These words grew because I watered them with my hunger, my sweat, my sleepless nights. I placed the notebooks beside the photos. On one side, her proud, glowing graduation pictures. On the other, the humble, worn-out tools that had carried her there. One side the world celebrated. The other, no one wanted to see. If you believe every mother's sacrifices deserve to be remembered, please comment, respect below. Let us give a voice to the unseen. I touched my wrinkled hands, comparing them to the hands in the photos. There, she stood tall, smiling, surrounded by youth and beauty. Here, my hands trembled, veins raised, skin folded with years. But these hands had written her story, even if they were missing from the final page. I whispered to myself, they can erase me from their pictures, but they cannot erase me from her life. These books, these pencils, these pages, they all carry me, even if she chooses not to see it. The photos glared back at me, glossy and cold. The notebooks, though old and torn, felt alive in my lap. In that contrast, I saw the truth. What the world celebrated was only the fruit, but what I carried in my box were the roots. I thought being absent from the photos was the final erasure, but I still had one truth left to speak. By evening, the house was once again filled with footsteps. My daughter returned, her gown draped over her arm, her face glowing with joy. Relatives trailed behind her, their voices excited, carrying flowers, balloons, and applause that had not reached me. Ma, she said quickly, holding up a packet. Look at these. The photographer gave us the first set of pictures. She laid them on the table, her fingers brushing each glossy print. Smiling faces, elegant gowns, proud families lined up in neat rows. She pointed eagerly. Here I am on stage. Here with my classmates. Here with our family. Double quotes family. I leaned closer. My chest tightened. Every face I recognized was their uncles, aunts, cousins. But one face was missing. Mine. Not a single picture carried my presence. Not a single frame remembered the woman who had carried her to this day. I whispered, You look beautiful, Beta." My voice cracked, but she didn't notice. She was too busy laughing at another shot, showing it to the others, her joy spilling across the room. One aunt glanced at me, almost guiltily, then looked away. Another smiled at my daughter and said, "Perfect, absolutely perfect. No distractions in the photos." No distractions. That's what I was now. If you believe no mother should ever be erased from her child's proudest memories, please share this video. Let's give dignity back to forgotten mothers. I sat silently as the photos spread across the table. My daughter didn't even look up to see the tears in my eyes. In that moment, I realized the truth. I had not only been absent from the ceremony, had been erased from the memory of it. Her graduation, built on my sacrifices, carried no trace of me. When the laughter faded and the relatives left, I gathered the photos gently into a pile. My daughter had gone to her room, humming proudly. While I remained at the table, staring at the glossy prints, I whispered to them. "You captured her smile, her gown, her pride. But you missed the hunger, the labor, the sacrifice that carried her here. You missed me." I thought being told not to come was the deepest wound, but being erased from her memory cut even deeper. The day of the graduation arrived. The morning light streamed into my small room, but it carried no warmth for me. I sat on my bed, the cream sari still folded neatly at my side, the wrapped pen resting on top. They were silent witnesses to a day I was forbidden to attend. Across the lane, I could hear the hum of excitement cars pulling up, relatives dressed in bright clothes, voices filled with laughter. The air smelled faintly of flowers and perfume drifting from the hall nearby. I stayed inside, the walls pressing close around me. My heart longed to step outside, to walk toward the sound, to sit in the crowd and clap until my hands ached. But instead, I sat alone. I closed my eyes and imagined it the stage. The shining lights, my daughter walking across with her gown flowing, her name called proudly. I imagined the applause shaking the hall. I imagined her looking into the audience, scanning the crowd. But in her vision, I was not there. The applause that filled my ears was not mine to give. The pride that filled the room was not mine to share. I looked down at my wrinkled hands resting in my lap. These were the same hands that had scrubbed floors until they bled, that had sewn clothes late into the night, that had carried the weight of survival for years. Yet today, they were empty. I whispered, "These hands earned that stage for her. And yet, these hands are not welcome to clap." If you believe no mother should ever be left alone on her child's proudest day, please like this video. Let us give dignity to forgotten mothers. Time passed slowly. The muffled sounds of music, speeches, and cheers floated in through the window. Each one was a reminder that while my daughter's future was being celebrated, her mother was being erased. I pressed the wrapped pen against my chest and whispered, "I had dreamed of giving this to you today." But dreams do not always belong to the dreamer. The sari remained folded, the pen remained wrapped, and I remained in silence. I thought my loneliness would end when the ceremony was over, but it was only the beginning of a deeper wound. That afternoon, as I sat by the window with the wrapped pen in my lap, I heard voices outside. Some of my relatives had come by, excited about the graduation. I leaned closer, listening through the thin walls. "She's going to look so beautiful in that gown," one aunt said proudly. "Such an achievement for the family." "Yes," another voice chimed in, "and thank God she told her mother not to come. It would have spoiled everything. You know how shabby she looks these days. It's better this way photos last forever." Laughter followed, cruel, thoughtless laughter. Their words were meant to be casual, but they stabbed deeper than knives. To them, my absence was not tragedy, it was improvement. My erasure made the family shine brighter. I pressed the pen tightly in my hand, so tight the paper crinkled. My eyes burned as I whispered, "So, even my family agrees I am better hidden than seen." I sat back on the floor, hugging my knees to my chest. I had carried these people on my back, to fed them when they came hungry, shared what little I had, never turning anyone away. Yet now, they spoke of me as though I were a stain that needed to be scrubbed out of memory. If you believe no mother should ever be treated as an embarrassment, please subscribe. Let her sacrifices be honored instead of erased. The laughter outside grew louder. They spoke of photographers, decorations, the banquet hall. Every detail of tomorrow seemed brighter because I was not in it. I looked at my reflection in the dusty mirror. My face, lined and tired, stared back. The very face that had bent over fires to cook, leaned over sewing machines to stitch, endured storms and hunger to raise her children. This face was their shame. I touched my cheek gently, whispering, "If they cannot see love here, Then their eyes are blind. The relatives left eventually, their voices fading, but their words remained, sharp and heavy. It's better this way. Photos last forever. I thought family was meant to defend me. But even they laughed at my absence. The next morning, I tried one last time. I folded the cream, sari neatly, smoothed the wrinkles again, and placed the wrapped pen on top. My heart whispered, maybe she didn't mean it. Maybe she will change her mind. When she came into the room, I held the pen out to her. Beta, I want to give you this tomorrow, before you walk on stage. It will bring you good luck. She looked at it, her lips pressing into a thin line. Then she sighed. Ma, didn't you hear what I said? Don't come. Please, your sari is too old. Your face looks tired. If you sit there, people will talk. It will spoil the photos. Her words were calm, but calmness can cut sharper than rage. I felt them slice through me, piece by piece. I lowered the pen slowly. Spoil the photos, I repeated, my voice shaking. She nodded, already turning away. Everyone will be dressed so nicely. All the other parents will look modern, respectable. And you'll stand out. I don't want that. Respectable, the word burned in my chest. I had sold my bangles, starved myself, broken my body just to give her this moment. And yet, I was not respectable enough to stand beside her. I sat back on my chair, staring at my wrinkled hands. These hands had stitched her uniforms, washed her clothes, cooked her meals, wiped her tears. And now, these very hands were shameful to her. Asterisk if you believe, no mother's facehold ever be called a shame. Please like this video. Let the world remember the true beauty of sacrifice. She left the room. Her footsteps light with excitement for tomorrow, while mine felt like stones dragging me into the earth. I looked at the sari on the bed. Once, I had imagined walking proudly to the ceremony, sitting among the crowd, clapping until my palms hurt. I had imagined being seen not as old or poor, but as the mother who carried her to this moment. Instead, I was told to hide. The sari lay silent, its folds no longer carrying hope, but humiliation. I whispered into the empty room. My daughter believes my presence will spoil her happiness. But does she not see? Her happiness was built on my presence. I thought my face would be welcomed as pride. But she saw it only as shame. Her words echoed in my mind all night. You'll ruin the photos. Just stay home. I sat by the lantern, the wrapped pen in my lap, my hands trembling. For her, my presence was shame. For me, her graduation was supposed to be the crown of my sacrifices. My mind wandered back to the years when her journey began. I remembered the mornings I rose before dawn, scrubbing other people's floors while my own stomach growled. I would leave her sleeping on a thin mat, whispering prayers over her head before stepping into the cold. I remembered walking barefoot to the factory. My feet blistered from stones, working double shifts so her school fees could be paid on time. There were days I ate nothing but stale roti dipped in water, saving the fresher food for her. I told myself, her hunger must never know what mine feels like. There was a winter I will never forget. Her school needed a new book set too expensive for me, so I sold the gold bangles my husband had given me when we married. My heart broke as they weighed them in the jeweler's hand, but I told myself, her education is my true ornament, and every report card she brought home with proud eyes, every medal she hung on the wall, every essay she wrote, those were my jewels, my rewards. I remembered sewing her uniforms late into the night, patching old fabric with trembling fingers, whispering, one day, this uniform will lead her to success. I remembered carrying her school bag when she was too tired, my shoulders stooping lower each year, but my heart soaring higher with pride. If you believe no mother should ever be hidden after giving everything for her child's future, please subscribe. Let her sacrifices be remembered. And now, after all of it, after every blister, every hunger, every sacrifice, my daughter stood at the edge of her greatest moment and said to me, don't come. You'll ruin the photos. I pressed the wrapped pen against my chest and whispered. This pen was bought with my hunger, my nights, my tears, and yet, my face is not worthy to be in her pictures. The sari lay folded on the bed, waiting to be worn, but now, it looked less like a garment and more like a reminder of my place unseen, unwanted. I thought my sacrifices had written me into her future, but in her story, I was only meant to stay in the shadows. The morning was bright the day before my daughter's graduation. I laid out my old cream sari on the bed, smoothing its creases carefully with my palms. It wasn't new, it wasn't fine, but it was all I had. I told myself, it will do. I must look my best for her big day. On the small table sat a modest gift, a fountain pen, wrapped in paper I had saved from a neighbor's leftover. It wasn't expensive, but to me, it carried meaning. For her to sign her future, I whispered to myself. Tying the knot gently, I imagined myself sitting in the crowd the next day, clapping as her name was called. I imagined her walking across the stage, her eyes searching the audience, finding mine. And in that moment, I would nod proudly, as though saying, all the sacrifices were worth it. But dreams have a way of shattering, not with thunder, but with a whisper. That evening, she came into my room, her graduation gown folded over her arm. Her face was calm, but her words were not. Ma, she said, don't come tomorrow. I froze. Why, Beta? She looked away, her voice low but sharp. You'll ruin the photos. Your old sorry, your tired face. It will spoil everything. Please understand. Just stay home. Her words dropped like stones into my chest. I thought the graduation would be my proudest day, but I was wrong.